So, as I was watching my last video, it occurred to me that I broke my own rules. I just put out a video not too long ago explaining how I wanted to be positive on this channel, and my last video seemed to be a little bit negative. So let me try and correct that. I'll start by saying I love my Harley Davidson, and I love Harleys in general. Most of us that ride them do. A little story, I'm not sure if I've told this one or not, but so my brother and I have been into motorcycles pretty much all our lives. He a little more so than me. He knows the mechanics and the ins and outs of them, and I just know how to ride them. And like a lot of other people that can't afford a Harley Davidson, we kind of made fun, poked fun at the whole stigma of American or die. But again, I've come to find out that most people that don't like Harleys are people that can't afford a Harley. As far as buying a new bike goes, unless you have a pile of disposable income floating around, Harley Davidson is probably not going to be your first option. If it is, congratulations, I'm a little jealous. So a couple of years ago, a few years ago now maybe, my brother calls me up out of the blue, and his first words to me are, "Now I get it. Your very next paycheck, you need to go to the Harley Davidson dealership." Being the cynic that I am, I was like, well, okay, you're just excited you got a new bike. And he says, "I'm not even going to argue with you about it. We'll talk about this after you get one." So not long after, I had the good fortune of acquiring one. And sure enough, the evening I took delivery of mine, I rode it home. And first thing I did after I parked it was called him and said, "Now I get it." There is nothing like riding a Harley. There is nothing like owning a Harley. I feel pretty safe in saying that purchasing a Harley Davidson can and more than likely will change your life. I can safely say also that it changed mine. Not to sound weird, but I can't imagine a day going by without, at the very least, looking at my Harley. I had a situation where it was in a buddy's garage for a couple of weeks, and I felt like a member of the family was gone. Every time I walked into my garage, I panicked until that split second where I realized where my bike was and why it wasn't here. Venture to say I'm not the only one that has feelings like this. Once you get a Harley, and like my brother said, you don't understand until you own one. So all that being said, it's a long way of saying I really enjoy owning a Harley Davidson. But as for me, I like riding. I like motorcycles. And Harley Davidson is not the only maker on the planet. We tend to get into the Harley versus Indian and American versus metric and all of that. Well, I love trucks. I love everything that a truck affords me. I am very much into Ford trucks, but I've owned Chevys, a couple of them, and I like Chevys. I've owned a Dodge or two. I like Dodges. I've even owned a couple of metrics. I owned a Nissan, I owned a Mitsubishi. So I've owned a variety of trucks. And the common thread is I liked having a truck. Now I have my favorite. I have what I'd prefer. In my case, it's a Ford. I'm sure some of you are cringing at the screen right now saying, "What's wrong with this guy?" Because you're diehard bow tie fans or diehard Mopar junkies. And that's okay. Everybody has their preference. But at the end of the day, if you're doing what you love and you're loving doing it, it doesn't matter what the nameplate says. You ride what you like. This being primarily a Harley Davidson channel because that's what myself and my friends around me ride, I might get a little slack for saying don't ever be embarrassed. Metric bikes have their purpose. I have my Harley, And then I have, I think at last count, 6 metric bikes that share a garage with my Road King. When they're all done, because they're all in project stage right now, they will all serve their specific intent and purposes. So why did I go into this long essay, you might ask? We were a little disappointed, and I say we because there's plenty of videos out there, the same as mine. A little disappointed in what Harley has offered us for the new lineup for 2023. Oh, I would have done different. I would have done this. I would have done that. I would have done this. Truth is, I very highly doubt there's anybody that works for Harley Davidson Corporate that watches my channel. There's some salesmen maybe. There's some mechanics maybe. But I doubt anybody in the Milwaukee offices are watching my tiny little channel. So at the end of the day, my opinion really doesn't matter that much. Out of the people that I ride with, maybe 2-3 people I know have gotten brand new bikes. Most of us buy used. So we're not so much the target audience. The point is, if Harley isn't making what you want, you go somewhere else. There are plenty of bike manufacturers out there. Now, personally, at this point, I would like if Harley made more models similar to what other manufacturers are making, but that's not their gig. That's not what they're doing. So when I want something different, I get something different. If Harley is disappointing you and not giving you exactly what you want, then there are other makers out there. Japanese, English, Italian, all of the above. Because I'm a big proponent of don't ride what everybody else says you should ride. Ride what you want to ride. Ride what makes you comfortable and what you're comfortable on. We have small bikes around here. We have large bikes around here. There's always somebody else that's going to make what you want. Ride what fits your budget. Ride what you can afford. And you'll enjoy riding a whole lot more. I'm into my bobber about $2,500. And that is counting the original purchase of the bike. So it's well within the economic constraints of my life. And you may be in the same boat. You want to work on something, you want to play with something, go buy a cheap used metric off of somebody and make it work. Ride what you like to ride. Ride what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, that's all that counts. Nobody else is riding your bike for you. Nobody else has to work on your bike. Nobody else has to clean your bike. Nobody else has to be seen on your bike. Hopefully you enjoy what you're riding. Know plenty of people that are extremely happy on their Honda Goldwing, extremely happy on their Kawasaki Vulcan, etc., etc. And they have no need to buy a Harley. Until they do. Because that's where I was. I had no need of it until I had one. And now I can't live without it. So I'm not talking smack about Harley in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, maybe if I hit the lottery, I might buy that new CVO Road Glide. But I'm not holding my breath on that one. It's a big world out there. If your buddy shows up to a Harley bike night on a Honda Grom, you're probably all going to have a good laugh, and that's all right. But at the end of the day, admit it. You're going to go home and you're going to tell your wife, I sure would like to have a Honda Grom. Because that's how that works.
Oh,